them. They're really screwed up. I watch this MSNBC, which is a threat to democracy, actually. They're stone cold mean, but they're stuttering. They're all screwed up. They're all mentally screwed up. But MSNBC was mean. Their ratings are absolutely down. There's Rachel Maddow. What does she have? She's got nothing. Nothing. She took a sabbatical. She gets no raise. All she does is to talk about Trump, 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 Trump. All different subjects. Trump this, Trump that. But these people are really, I mean, they lie.
Want to know why Trump was frantically typing with his tiny thumbs at 3 a.m.? Rachel Maddow just dropped a bombshell so devastating on live TV that Trump's phone probably needs therapy now. While most hosts scream and shout about Trump scandals, Maddow did something much more brutal. She calmly listed facts about his failed charity, fake university, and approval ratings lower than mosquitoes. Yes, Americans literally prefer mosquitoes to Trump. Stick around to see the most savage destruction that ever came with a smile. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great! Thank you so much. Now back to the video. Ever wonder what a president does at 3 a.m. when he can't handle criticism? While most adults were sleeping soundly in their beds, Donald Trump was having what can only be described as a complete meltdown online.
Anytime any reporters or any investigators have gotten a hold of any little piece of his financial history, it has turned out to be so unimaginably bad. I mean, it's kind of hard to believe this isn't all anybody works on when it comes to him. Funds paid by checks handwritten by Trump Organization executives, including his eldest son. Right, we still don't totally understand why those Trump Organization executives never got charged in this scheme. I mean, any little money thing related to him that has been fully reported reveals a catastrophe. I mean, just pick one at random, right? The presidential campaign, hush money payments.
The moment Rachel Maddow's segment ended, Trump's fingers started furiously tapping away at his phone screen, proving just how deeply her calm analysis had crawled under his skin. What happened next was both hilarious and kind of sad. Trump's late-night social media rampage kicked off around 3 a.m. Yes, that's right, 3 in the morning, when most former presidents would be, sleeping. But not our Donnie. His fragile ego was so wounded by Maddow's segment that he couldn't even wait until sunrise to defend himself. The posts themselves were something special. They weren't just angry, they were practically incomprehensible word salads that would make an elementary school teacher reach for the red pen. Random capitalizations, bizarre typos, and grammar that would make your third-grade teacher cry. In one particularly memorable post, he couldn't even spell ratings correctly, typing ratings instead. I guess when you're rage posting at 3 a.m., spell check is the first casualty. As the night wore on, Trump's posts became increasingly unhinged. He started comparing himself to Abraham Lincoln, yes, really, while mysteriously referring to Maddow as stone cold meat, whatever that means. Maybe it's some kind of weird compliment? Who knows? The contrast couldn't have been clearer.
The president's personal lawyer who conveyed the checks to the women who were being paid off in the scheme, he ended up going to prison for this money. But Michael Cohen is still in prison for that hush money scandal. Who knows, depending on the statute of limitations and whether he wins re-election, maybe we'll soon see him face his own felony charges on that as well. Prosecutors in the Southern District of New York named the president as the person who supervised and ordered the commission of those felonies. They described him as individual one.
While Maddow maintained professionalism and stuck to the facts during her segment, Trump immediately went for petty personal attacks, showing exactly why her approach is so effective and his isn't. There's something particularly revealing about a man who claims to be a strong leader having such a public meltdown in the wee hours of the morning. According to reports, his social media director actually tried to take his phone away 3 times that night, but Trump was too worked up to stop his posting spree. Can you imagine that scene? A grown man, a former president, refusing to hand over his phone while rage tweeting about a cable news host? Comedy gold. One post particularly showcased his desperation when he typed "fake news Maddow," misspelling her name in his fury. Classic Trump move. When you can't counter the facts, just claim it's fake news and misspell the person's name for good measure. The irony is that his bizarre claims about ratings were easily disproven with a simple Google search, which showed Maddow's program was actually trending that night. Talk about embarrassing yourself. The whole late-night tantrum perfectly illustrates why Maddow's approach is so effective against him.
I mean, that's just a couple $100,000 during the campaign. Let's take a look at that. Whoa, people are going to prison. And maybe the president is too. Small despotic countries' worth of criminal schemes to invade taxes, to rip off everyone from the city to the federal government to their own tenants, to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars. What do we know of the president's taxes? Nobody's ever been able to obtain more than a few pages of his taxes. But the New York Times combined those few known pages of his taxes with a bunch of business records from the Trump family businesses that they obtained through sort of mysterious means.
She doesn't need to shout or use personal insults. She just calmly presents facts. And facts, as we've learned, make Trump lose his mind faster than you can say, "Kav thief." While he was busy making typos and comparing himself to Lincoln at 3 a.m., Maddow's measured analysis was already spreading across social media, gaining traction with each passing hour. Facts are to Trump what kryptonite is to Superman. They completely drain his power. Have you ever wondered how Maddow manages to devastate him so thoroughly while speaking barely above a whisper? Her technique is so effective that Trump's team has a special emergency protocol just for Maddow segments. While political commentators across cable news scream themselves hoarse about the latest Trump scandal, Maddow takes a completely different approach. She's not interested in the shouting match. Instead, she treats each segment like a chess game where she's always 5 moves ahead of the orange turd. Her weapon of choice? Pure, undiluted facts, delivered with the calm precision of someone who knows exactly what she's doing. What makes Maddow so uniquely devastating is how she connects the dots. She doesn't just present isolated facts. She creates a pattern that even the most loyal MAGA hat wearer can't unsee. It's like watching someone solve a complicated puzzle right in front of your eyes. Before you know it, she's painted a complete picture that's impossible to dismiss. Watch her technique in action. During a recent segment, she simply adjusted her glasses, said, "For the record," and proceeded to methodically dismantle Trump's wild claims about oil production, electric vehicle mandates, and supposed budget savings. No shouting, no name-calling, just facts, delivered with surgical precision. The contrast couldn't be more stark. While Donnie Diapers communicates like he's screaming into a megaphone during a hurricane, Maddow speaks with the measured tone of someone who's already won the argument before it even began. She knows something he doesn't, that facts speak louder than all-caps tweets. What viewers don't see is the intense preparation behind that seemingly effortless delivery. Her colleagues describe her research process as obsessive. While Trump is rage tweeting at Fox News, Maddow is buried in documents, connecting threads that nobody else has noticed.
On Monday this week, President Donald Trump went to the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., where he has recently fired the entire board and appointed himself as the new chairman. President Trump, on Monday, announced, surprise, that the very next day, he would be releasing all files related to the investigation of the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. While skulking around that national cultural treasure on Monday, where he now personally intends to choose awardees. So get ready for a lot of, Kid Rock.
By the time she goes on air, she's not just prepared, she's bulletproof. The real genius of her approach is how dispassionate it feels. She presents information like a prosecutor laying out evidence, making it almost impossible to dismiss as partisan hackery. She never seems angry or emotional, just determined to present the truth, which makes her critiques 10 times more powerful. In her most devastating segment yet, Maddow methodically laid out Trump's pattern of fraud and deception. With calm precision, she connected the dots between his fraudulent charity, which was shut down for being a scam, his fake university, where students actually got refunds, and his company's multiple felony fraud convictions. Each fact on its own might be dismissible, but together they form a pattern of deception that's impossible to ignore. As she ticked through each point, she never raised her voice, not even once. She simply allowed Trump's own actions to speak for themselves, and that's the brilliance of her approach. She doesn't need to attack him personally because his record does all the heavy lifting. Speaking of heavy lifting, nothing crushed Trump's spirit quite like Maddow's calm presentation of his approval ratings compared to things Americans typically hate. When dentist appointments and jury duty rank higher than your popularity, you might want to rethink your people love me strategy, Donnie. The real bombshell in Maddow's segment wasn't about scandals, crimes, or even his ridiculous hair. It was simply cold, hard polling data that hit Trump where it hurts most, his ego. With just a simple graphic and her trademark calm demeanor, Maddow revealed the brutal truth that Americans would literally prefer the company of mosquitoes to spending time with the former president. Not metaphorical mosquitoes, actual buzzing, blood-sucking insects that nobody likes. The numbers were absolutely devastating. Trump's approval rating sits at a pathetic 34%, while things people normally avoid like dentist appointments scored 42%.
Over the last couple of days, have you, heard anything in the news? Have you seen any big headlines about the amazing revelations in these documents? And that is because the documents that genius Donald Trump insisted on Monday had to be released on Tuesday. Those documents were almost entirely documents that had been previously released to the public. You've seen news stories about how, wow, these new documents finally shed new light on the assassination, or that, some previously unknown fact about it has been revealed, and this changes everything.
Even jury duty, the thing everyone tries to get out of, beat Trump with 37% approval. Ouch. If that doesn't qualify as a nationwide rejection, I don't know what does. What makes this particularly painful for Trump is how much his entire identity revolves around being loved by the masses. This is a man who's built his entire brand around being popular and well-liked. While most politicians can handle criticism, Trump's fragile ego demands constant validation, making these approval numbers his personal nightmare scenario. The beauty of Maddow's approach was that she didn't need to mock or ridicule him about these embarrassing stats. She simply presented them matter-of-factly, occasionally sipping water and adjusting her glasses while delivering the brutal numbers. No shouting, no name-calling, just the quiet devastation of irrefutable facts. Trump's obsession with crowd sizes and ratings stems from his desperate need for validation, Maddow pointed out during her segment, explaining why these particular numbers would hit him harder than almost any other criticism. Every time Trump has boasted about having the biggest crowds or the best ratings, he's been trying to convince himself as much as his audience that he's beloved.
Donald Trump, genius, insisted that the documents he was ordering to be released, these documents would have to be unredacted. And it turns out, you know what had been redacted the other times they had released these documents? You know what had been under those black boxes in previous releases of these same documents? You know what was under the Sharpie scratch-outs? He made that explicit in his order. Totally unredacted, nothing crossed out. And so, on his orders, they released all of these documents that had been previously released, except this time, they had nothing crossed out.
Instead, Americans apparently prefer mold and used car salesmen. Let that sink in. Mold, the fuzzy stuff growing in your forgotten leftovers, is more popular than the former president of the United States. Used car salesmen, the punchline of trust jokes for decades, are more likable than Donald Trump. That's not just unpopular, that's reaching new depths of public disapproval. In what might be the most perfectly delivered line of her segment, Maddow calmly noted that Trump's approval ratings have sunk so low they might qualify for deep-sea exploration. The studio remained silent as the devastating assessment hung in the air. No laugh track needed. The facts themselves were the punchline. The segment reportedly sent Trump into a complete tailspin. Sources close to the former president revealed that immediately after the broadcast, he demanded his team produce real ratings that showed him more popular than household pests. Imagine being so insecure that you need emergency polling to prove you're more likable than mosquitoes, and still coming up short. The viral lightning strike of Maddow's segment has been echoing across social media while poor little Donnie's tweets fade into the digital abyss. It's like watching a college professor calmly explaining physics while a toddler throws a tantrum in the corner. The contrast couldn't be more delicious, her facts spreading like wildfire while his all-caps outburst collect digital dust. It's really the perfect example of what happens when preparation meets panic. While Trump hammers away at his phone with those tiny fingers, media analysts are busy dissecting Maddow's masterclass in political communication. The lesson here is crystal clear. You can scream until your face matches your spray tan, but a calm voice backed by actual facts will always win the day. Turns out the biggest bombshell wasn't what Maddow said, but how completely ineffective Trump's chaotic comeback strategy has become.